Hey guys, James here and welcome back to my garage. If you're new to the channel, this channel is all about sharing my lifelong love of cars with all of you guys. And if you've been watching videos on my channel and they're making you happy, you like the videos, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I see every single one and I really appreciate each one of you guys. So let's get on with today's video. So throughout the years, I've been lucky enough to own a 991 Carrera S, and I've driven a whole bunch of 981, 987, and 718 Caymans and Boxsters. But nowadays, I choose to have this MX-5 as my sports car, as my weekend car. Now, I'm not claiming that the MX-5 is just a better car than, say, a 718 Boxster, but there are a few ways in which the MX-5 is a better car than the Boxster, in my opinion. And today's video is all about those ways. The first advantage of the MX-5 is found right under here. It's the engine. Now, I'm a huge fan of flat six engines. I love the way they sound. I love the way that they sound like tearing Velcro as they climb up the rev range. But the 718 Boxster and Boxster S and Cayman S these days come with turbo 4s. And I'm just not a big fan of flat 4s. The engines really just lack charisma. There's nothing kind of at the top end, and then ultimately the sound isn't that great. They sound a little bit like Subarus, and Porsche tried really hard to kind of engineer the Subaru-ness out of the exhaust. It doesn't quite work. It still sounds like a Subi to me. And it's just, it doesn't have the charisma. By contrast, I think the engine in this car, despite the fact that it doesn't have very impressive numbers, is actually really great. It has, even though it's naturally aspirated, it has enough torque to make daily driving just really feel just effortless. But it also has some of that top end. Now, one of my buddies who owns an S2K, look at this punk! Drove this car recently and he's like, well, you know, the top end is not quite as nice as the S2Ks. I know, it isn't. It's not quite the screamer that's in an S2K. But today's video is comparing it to the 718 Boxster, and this engine has way more charisma and way more just pull it's got a torque curve that just sort of pulls more linearly right up to that red line. Now the second advantage is the fact that this car is just way more fun a larger percentage of the time. It's a lot more alive on city streets. I think Porsches these days are just a little too isolated, a little too capable for you to really ring them out on the street. So, you know, even if you drive like moderately quickly on the street, it's just, the car doesn't feel like it's really playing. It's just kind of taking a stroll. Looks like my girlfriend just got home, so we're gonna have another car in the shots. Anyway, back to the MX-5. There are three reasons why I think this car is more alive, more just fun on the street. The first is the fact that the suspension is really soft. Now, that's not fantastic for track use, but on the street, that makes it feel so much more alive, and I personally have come to love it. Second reason is that this car has lower limits than a 718 Boxster, but it's still so beautifully balanced and eminently controllable at the limit. So you get to access that limit so often where you're just dancing right on the edge of tire adhesion. And the third reason is that this car is way lighter than a Boxster. So this car here is 2,339 pounds, and a 718 Boxster starts at 3,021. So it's actually 29% heavier than this guy. And, you know, obviously a lot of that is sound dampening and you know, kind of the luxury stuff, which makes it more civilized, I get it. But when you're just trying to have fun on the road, all of that just means that the box, there's just a lot more mass, a lot more stuff between you and the road. So I think that's the third reason why this car feels more alive. I mean, think about that weight difference. It's like you could drop an additional LS motor into this engine, keep the 4-cylinder in there as well, just drop an LS into the trunk and it'd still be lighter than a Boxster. So, some food for thought. And the final reason that I think this car is a better sports car than a 718 Boxster comes down to the manual transmission. The gearing in a Mazda Miata is just way shorter than it is in a 718 Boxster manual. Porsches are notorious for having really long gearing. I remember driving a 981 GT4 about 2.5 years ago, And my goodness, if you're driving through the mountains, you just basically leave it in second gear. And that kind of takes away the fun of a manual transmission. You might as well get the PDK at that point, because at least the gearing is a little bit closer and you can shift through it. I think the manual transmission in this car is just much more engaging because you have to shift more often, and that's kind of the point. Let me give you a bonus reason why this car is a better sports car for some of you viewers than the 718 Boxster. Now, I'm 5'6", 5'7" on a good day, 5'8" on my dating profile back in the day. And this car feels like it was made for people my size. Whenever I drive a 981 or a 718 Boxster or Cayman, I feel like I'm sitting in a giant bathtub. It's like the sides come up really tall, and I used to get this feeling too when I owned a 2012 and then a 2014 Mustang. It wasn't designed for people who are 5'6" or 5'7", right? So it feels like I went to the store and bought a suit off the rack and it's just a size too big, right? Whereas the Miata feels like it's the right size. So if you're a little bit shorter like me, then the Miata is gonna be a better fit for you because you just have that better interface between you and the car. And I feel like that's a really underrated factor when it comes to choosing a sports car to buy. So there you go, you're welcome. Quality consumer advice. Okay, so those are 3 or 4, depending on how tall you are, reasons why the MX-5 is just a better sports car than the 718 Boxster. I hope you found this video entertaining, thought-provoking, informative even, I don't know. And so if you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment below if you think I missed a factor, or if you're just, 718 is the best. Comment below, fight me. I love the discussion. I read every comment. I appreciate every comment, even the ones that really disagree with me. So, in all seriousness, I love seeing you guys engage with the community here that we've got going on. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you next time.